Another boring night. Another night at the job I hate. Normally, things are quite settled around here. It is a half-deserted ICU with half-dead people lying down waiting for a miracle. A miracle I don't believe in. I was all alone in the reception, just scrolling through Instagram, because there wasn't much else to do. I'm not always alone. Usually, there's someone else on this floor with me, but my coworker had left for some reason. The atmosphere in this place can be tough to handle. I just hate this smell all around the place. Complex emotions in the air. And then that weird sliding door down the hallway that always makes a creepy noise whenever someone goes in or out. Time was ticking away that I suddenly felt something unusual moving silently at the far end of the dark hallway on my right. At first, I ignored it, thinking it was probably nothing, but gradually I sensed this presence getting closer and closer. This figure, whoever it was, kept approaching until I could finally see her face. Her pale face with that long, straight black hair in this weird, oversized hoodie, staring right at me. I was in shock, and there she was, standing right behind the receptionist desk. We locked eyes for a couple of seconds, what felt like an eternity. She seemed to be a teenager and had this vacant expression on her face. I took a deep breath and asked her, "How can I help you?" She remained silent for a few moments, just staring at me without uttering a word. So I repeated my question, hoping for a response. Then she began to mumble something, words that were difficult to make out. Something like, "My mom needs help." It was a surprise since I had checked on all the patients just an hour ago, and everything seemed fine. So I asked her, "Which room is your mother in?" She turned slightly and pointed with her finger in a certain direction. I thought I got her pointing direction and ran toward the room to see what was going on. But when I entered the room, everything appeared completely normal. What was happening? I returned to the receptionist's desk, looking for the girl, but she had disappeared, as if she had never been there. Strange. I was left amazed, looking around in total confusion. Meanwhile, I was calling the other sections, trying to locate my colleague. Well, I couldn't shake off my thoughts about that teenage girl. What she was doing here. The shift change was approaching, and I needed to wrap things up. Though I was still scared, I was thinking about that girl I just saw. I was on my phone as I was scrolling through it. Then, out of nowhere, I sensed something standing right in front of the receptionist desk. Oh God, it was herself. I was panicking. My hands were shaking and I started to catch my breath. She was staring at me with the same creepy, blank expression. I gathered what little courage I have left and asked her again, What do you want? I was practically panting as I spoke. She repeated herself, saying, "My mom needs help." And then she dropped her name, Clara Jacob. Feeling a bit desperate, I decided to check our system to figure out who this woman really was. I typed her name, but there was no record of Clara Jacob in our current section. I dug deeper and found a Clara Jacob from 2 years ago, but it didn't make any sense. So, what was wrong with this kid? I kept looking at her. At the same time, she was staring at the room across the hall. As I was going through this, I noticed that the girl had walked into the last room. Clara Jacob, Clara Jacob. I heard this name, and that's when it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was unbelievable. I remember this name. Clara Jacob had died 2 years ago. She and all her family, her husband, and their teenage daughter. Everything had changed now. I fixated my gaze on that room where that girl just walked in. I was so caught up in all of this that I didn't even notice my colleague approaching from behind. She walked right up to the receptionist's desk and saw the look of fear and dread and horror on my face. Naturally, she asked what on earth was happening here. At first I was lost for words, but with her calming presence, I managed to compose myself. I started telling her the whole story, confirming that the girl I'd just seen matched her description exactly. A teenage girl with long black hair. And then she stopped asking questions. We were both thoroughly puzzled and disturbed by this strange encounter. My mom needs help. Her last words. My mom needs help.